What's up, Parker? Welcome to our first episode of the Better Half podcast. Woo-hoo. I'm so excited to have you here and to sit down and talk to you about some of the stuff that you don't usually hear about a different side of the NFL. And so it's a beautiful day. We're at Passaic Hotel, and this is going to be fun because we're friends and we've grown pretty close over the past few years. But I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about you and Hunter and kind of your life here in California.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I guess we can start with the basic as to how you and your significant other, Hunter Henry, how you guys met.
Yes, so we've been together now for like 6.5 years. We actually met, I was going into my freshman year of college. We're both from Arkansas. And he was going into his sophomore year, and he was actually best friends with my cousin growing up. And so, like, our moms knew each other. They were sorority sisters. My mom's sister, his mom, were best friends. Like, we had all of these, like, you know, connections already in our family. And so we were actually at the beach for Memorial Day weekend, or at the beach. I'm so used to this. We don't have a beach in Arkansas. It's a lake. It's a very small lake.
The ocean's a little bit of an upgrade.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm just so used to the beach now. But we were at the lake, and his family was there, my family was there, and it was kind of the first time we had been around each other where we weren't dating other people. And so I just remember, like, I just couldn't stop staring at him, and his little brothers were like, oh my gosh, like, this girl is, like, obviously staring at you.
Right.
And so I could tell, like, Hunter was kind of into it, so I was like, okay, you know, just playing along. And then the next day, like, I thought maybe he'd get my number from my cousin, and he didn't. So I got his number from my cousin, and so I remember I texted him. I was like, can you send me, like, a picture or video that you took yesterday while we were on the lake? And
oh, wow, nice little slide in.
It was. I definitely, like, slid into his, not his DMs, but his texts. And so I texted him that day, and then literally every day since then, he just, like, texted me. He just kind of kept it going.
Oh, that's adorable.
But then I got into college, and I told him I didn't want a boyfriend. I kind of wanted to explore all avenues. I hate saying that, but I was like, I just got out of a long-term relationship, so I was like, I'm, you know, not looking for a boyfriend, but he snatched me up, and we got engaged like 3 years later, and then now we've been married for 2.5. So
that's good. So he ended up going to the same college as you, though.
Yeah. So we both went to Arkansas. He played football there. I, you know, was just normal there. I was in nursing school.
Oh my God. And so he ended up getting drafted before you graduated, correct?
Yeah, before he graduated too.
Oh,
so
wow.
So he dropped out of college to get drafted. I married a college dropout.
That's awesome. You know, setting the standards high. But so he got drafted, and then how long after he got drafted did he propose to you?
So it was, let's see, he got drafted his junior year, and he proposed to me before my senior year. So like we did long-term distance.
Long distance.
A
long-term long distance.
Yes, for like 2.5 years before he proposed. And that was so rough.
I mean, I can only, well, I guess I did it too, but.
Yeah, because you were.
Yeah, we did long distance for a year before I ended up moving out here, but. So he proposed actually an interview, which is the same way I got proposed to, a football interview,
We're
right?
the same, yes. Literally on the Arkansas practice field. It was like a local news guy that does podcasts in Arkansas, and he told me he wanted to do an interview on us and how we did long-term.
Long distance.
Stop. Oh my gosh. Yes. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say today. And so I was like, terrified. I did not like being interviewed. I told him to tell me the questions beforehand so I could literally practice. I was like so nervous all day, just practicing, and then we got to the interview, and I don't even know what the heck I said, but it was funny because Hunter was just as nervous, and he was like fumbling around the whole time, and he's so not nervous for interviews.
Have you done an interview before?
Yeah, I was like, what the heck? Like, I'm kind of crushing it, and you're not.
Right?
But yeah, so he proposed, and
and then, so after he proposed, you guys, how long did you have to plan your wedding?
We got engaged in July and got married the next June. So basically a year. But yeah, I was finishing up my senior year of nursing school. And so it was, and I had to study for my nursing board exam,
which is hard.
I took 2 weeks before we got married, and I was terrified I was going to fail it. Yeah.
You're like, this will
And then I
really-
was moving to California. I was like, if I fail it.
You're like, this is just too many stressors going on in 1 month.
I know.
Oh my God. And then, so you guys get married and you immediately move out here. Obviously, you want to move in with your husband.
Yes.
I know that he had roomed with Culkin for a while. So you kicked out Culkin and then.
Yeah, so I kicked Culkin out of the frat house and I moved in. And it's still pretty much a frat house, just with me and Hunter living there.
And now Cooper too.
And our dog Cooper, yes. So.
Oh my God. So moving more towards nursing. So when you moved out here, did you already have a nursing job?
No. So I obviously, like, back in the spring of 2018 when we got married, I knew that I would be moving out here. And so I started applying to jobs. And honestly, as a nurse applying out of state, because I had grown up in Arkansas, was only in Arkansas for my whole life, I wasn't really sure how it was going to work. And I quickly found out that moving out of state, that here in California especially, they require you to have 2 years of experience as a nurse to be hired.
Really?
Yeah. But I was coming out of nursing school, and so I didn't have any experience prior to getting a job. I had internships, so it was really difficult to get a job. I finally got one, though, in November of that year. And so I had a couple months to, like, settle in and enjoy exploring California and all that.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I'm sure, like, when I first moved to California, I was like, I kind of don't want to start working right away because I want to, like, treat it as a vacation and then kind of ease into the work life because.
I know. But then I was, like, so many months in, and I was like, okay, if I don't get a job now, I don't know if I'll ever work because I'm just, like, living the California life, the California dream.
Like, Hunter, you married a beach bum. Like, I apologize. I have this nursing degree and I don't know what to do.
And I don't want to use it. Yep. I know.
But it's crazy because so many people think that NFL significant others don't have jobs, or like they make so much money. Why would you ever go and get a job? So obviously, I mean, you're such a hard worker, and like you have a nursing job and you now have a side hustle with Arbonne, and like I've seen how hard you're working. So elaborate a little bit on that as to like why, I mean, I know why you have a job, but kind of elaborate on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we also just kind of like live in a culture where we were raised where you get a 9 to 5 and you go to work, you get your college education and you get a job and you just work, until you're 65 and you retire.
Right.
And I think for me, I've always been super independent, and I've always wanted, it's just a pride thing for me, I think. I've always wanted people to know, like, I can get a job because of myself and my hard work, not because of Hunter's name, and I know you feel the same about Isaac's name. And so I think for me, it's just always being felt like I needed to just prove in a way that, I'm hardworking and I can, get a job. And so, but also on the flip side of that, I'm super type A. I have to have something to do. I would go crazy if I didn't work. Like, I have to be constantly, like, on the go and busy. So that's one of the reasons why I have to be working.
Yeah, and we briefly touched on this, like, over DMs, but you're an Enneagram type 3, which is like an achiever.
The achiever,
That's
yes.
Isaac. And so I know, like, Isaac will get home from football and be working on, like, his side business, and then he'll be, like, DMing people about nonprofits, and I'm like, are you not tired?
Yeah, just take a mental break. That's what Hunter always tells me. I'm like, I can't. Like, my brain is just always going. Like, we'll be sitting on the couch watching TV, and I'll, like, step out to our balcony and just start sweeping it. Or I'll do something random just because I can't, like, sit still. Like, I'm surprised I'm still sitting here right now, honestly.
You're like, can we just be moving around while we do this podcast?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. But, I mean, it's surprising, though, because so many people think that just dating or being with an NFL player, like, you just get to quit your job and move wherever. And I know some people have it a lot more difficult where their husband or significant other is moving from team to team. So, like, totally understand that. But I just don't know what I would do all day.
I know. It definitely makes the time go by quicker when you're busy and have something to do.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing for us is, when Hunter and I got married, I was like, I'm going to have my nursing job, and that's going to be great. And I love Hunter so much, and I just want to watch him chase his dreams and, reach all the goals that he's ever wanted to. And when I moved out here, I kind of realized I had pushed, like, my dreams and my goals kind of to the side because I just love him so much. You want to succeed. You want to see your significant other succeed. And then I realized, like, we both have dreams and goals, and, like, why not both pursue them, And so, like, with Arbonne, that's why I've loved getting to work for that health and wellness company, because I've kind of gotten to because I'm so goal oriented, just kind of do that alongside my nursing job. So.
Yeah. So jumping into, you and I have you lived here 4 years?
No, I've lived here 2.5.
Okay, so
just while we've been married. But Hunter was
right around the same time that I moved to California. I haven't lived in Orange County the whole time, but
yeah, I think we moved here literally the same amount of time.
Oh, that's crazy. So, and Isaac was drafted a year before Hunter, but Hunter signed a franchise tag this year.
Yes.
So that means he is staying here for the rest of the season, and then Isaac and Hunter will both be up for new contracts next year, which is I feel like it's a little bit like, I don't know, uncharted territory. Is that what it's called?
Yes, for sure.
And
it's
so what do you,
unknowns.
I know when you guys were, over the summer, you guys were discussing like buying a house, and then you guys were like, I don't know, I think we're going to wait. So what's your plan for I guess December and January, February, Super Bowl?
The thing is, like, I feel like people are always like, okay, like, what's your next step? And as you'll come to find out, once you get married, people are like, when are you going to have babies? And once you have babies, it's like, when are you going to have another?
Yeah.
It's just like, what's the next thing? And with, a contract that's coming to the end, like, you don't know the next thing. And that's, like I was saying about me being a type A person, I'm always planning ahead. And so it's really taught me, having Hunter being in the NFL, it's really taught me that you just have to kind of go with the flow.
Right.
Because literally you could get traded at any moment. You don't know what's going to happen when your contract's up. Like, knowing that you could be staying or could be moving, like, if you think about it for too long, it kind of like freaks you out a little bit, especially when you've made like good friendships on the team with other girls like we have. And so I try not to think about it too much.
Yeah.
Because I love it here and I want to stay and I want to buy a house here.
Yeah, I know that's kind of been the topic in our apartment lately. Like, okay, like we want another dog, and he's like, well, we can't get another dog in our apartment, and I'm like, okay, well, when are we going to move out? And he's like, well, we'll probably buy a home, but I don't know if we're going to buy one here or if we're going to go to another team. And it's the same thing. Like, I think I've grown so used to living in California that it would bum me out to move. Obviously, like, Isaac just wants to follow his dream as long as he can, and so I, of course, like, in the future will be his wife, which is crazy for me to think about still. But it's so crazy that you don't really get to choose where you live. And you don't know how long you're going to live there. And you could buy a house one day, and then the next day they're like, actually, you're cut.
Yeah.
And you can even be like 7 years into the NFL and still get cut. And I didn't know that going into the NFL. I thought, like, once you got drafted, you were there for 4 years. And
exactly. There's so much I've learned, and I'm still learning, that it's just like, I didn't know my brain had this much capacity to learn about friggin' NFL.
Right?
Everything.
And like last year, because Isaac, he got drafted, and then he was on the 53-man roster for the first game of his NFL career, and then he got put down to practice squad, which voided his 4-year contract. And I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? And then they had 24 hours for another team to pick him up, and I was like, okay, 24 hours, like, it's so much, and I didn't know that there was that much into it.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like y'all's story especially is really cool, because I feel like in his situation especially, like, it helps so much when you have a family member or a significant other like you to be so supportive, because that's a lot. Like, for 24 hours, that's a lot to handle physically, emotionally, mentally. Like, those guys go through a lot.
And I mean, Isaac being an achiever, he not knowing if he was going to be with the Chargers or even playing football made him so nervous. Like, the first year in the NFL, he went and got an internship because he was so stressed out and like needed to put his energy towards something.
Oh my gosh. Isaac and I are going to have to talk about us being Enneagram 3s because I'm loving this.
I know, I'm an Enneagram 2, so I'm just like, I just want love. That's all I care about. But he is just like a go, go, go type of person. And I know, like, the first year in the NFL, there's so many unexpected things, especially, like, the later you get drafted, it's a little bit more unexpected. I mean, anything can still happen. But, I mean, he didn't want me moving out here. He was like, I don't know how long I'm going to be out here. And so when I moved out here, I was like, okay, we're just going to live in separate cities. We'll see each other. We'll be less long distance, but kind of still long distance, and just kind of live our own lives, but slowly work towards one. But
look at y'all now.
I know.
Look at you now.
And we actually just closed on a home.
Exciting.
So we're gonna get the keys in October, and we chose Arizona as a little home base.
So fun. fun.
Which is so random because, I mean, my brother lives there, but we just
great
want a
weather.
place. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, good weather, somewhere to call home. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still easier for us to travel there. Like, off season, we'll probably spend all of our time there because rent is so expensive here. So we'll wait out for another contract there. But what do you guys think your plan is going to be once the season's over?
I think we'll probably just stay put until, I mean, we're renting month to month. Just because we did look at houses at the beginning of this year before he got his contract, but we were like, okay, to buy a house, like, we want to live here we were like, okay, we don't have family yet. We would love to buy a house here.
Right.
But just with a one year deal, we were kind of hesitant, and especially, when COVID happened, that all kind of changed too.
Right.
But so we're renting month to month, and I want to stay out here in the off season. I'm like, until we have to leave, like, you will have to drag me out of California if we leave.
Yeah, I was trying to convince Isaac, like, it could just be an investment property if we end up leaving.
Yeah,
but
turn it into an Airbnb,
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
perfect.
think he's buying it yet, though. So
He will.
We'll have to see, but I don't want to leave California either. It's just,
I know. It's too good to be true. You wake up and you have palm trees outside, the ocean. It's too good.
I mean, going to the beach to, like, celebrate camp being over, like,
yes.
you can only
Those
dream
are the
of
best
things
days.
like, yeah, I mean, being from Michigan. So do you think you guys will buy a home in Arkansas, like, for a long-term home, or do you guys see yourself living somewhere else?
Good question. And if my mom and my mother-in-law are listening to this, they would want me to answer that we're going to buy a house in Arkansas long term. But I
Yeah.
just don't know. It's too hard to say. I think we'll definitely end up back in the South and close to family, because that for us is really important. And being out here, like, that is one thing that we miss a whole lot. Our family all being back in Arkansas. So I think we'll definitely move back to the South. Don't know where. But yeah,
Maybe a little bit closer for the
Yeah.
grandkids.
maybe somewhere with no state tax.
Yeah, that would always be a huge plus.
I know, if California could just get rid of the state tax.
Yeah, I mean, if
Wow.
anybody's listening that can help us make that happen, please let
Yeah.
us know. I remember getting my
Seriously.
first paycheck here. I was like,
It's devastating.
where did it all go?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so Corona.
Yes.
So obviously we, as a world, have all been hit by this pandemic, and it's interesting because you're a nurse, so you're working in a hospital. So you're a labor and delivery nurse, correct?
Yeah.
So you work in a hospital, and you don't. I swear, the taxes and the bugs out here.
The big beetles. I swear if that thing hits me. Okay,
So,
you're good.
being a nurse, you and Hunter obviously might have had a little bit different of a quarantine than, say, Isaac and I did, because I had a few months off of work, and you guys, I'm sure, had a few months that were a little bit stressful.
Yeah, so it's weird because I feel like in most relationships and most people, you say, well, have you been doing since the pandemic? And they're like, well, I either lost my job or I moved home to work from home. And for Hunter and I, everything just kind of stayed normal, because obviously being a nurse, I couldn't just, work from home. I still had patients to take care of. And we honestly, let's see, in February, we went to Israel, and we literally came back, and on the news the next day was quarantine.
That's exactly what happened for us. We came back from the NFLPA conference, and on the plane, that was when the NBA games got canceled, and it went from we took off out of Miami and landed in California, and people were wearing masks, and I was like, what is going on? It was night and day difference.
Yeah.
So you guys get back from Israel, and then
in complete panic. But at that point, it's the boys' off season. I mean, if anything changed for Hunter, it was that gyms were closed. So our garage turned into a very messy gym. I was like, we gotta organize this somehow, because there's just random stuff everywhere, and I'm like, this is not functional,
So the NFL sent them all equipment, which
Yes.
is really. Did you guys have a gym before Corona?
Like a jump rope,
So not really.
three pound weights.
Our apartment complex actually allows us to rent garages. So Isaac one day, he was like, we got a garage, and I bought a sauna with badge, and we're gonna turn it into our facility downstairs.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
That sounds like the most badge and Ike thing ever.
The mirrors are taped up with duct tape. I don't go down there.
I would like to see this.
Yeah, so Hunter builds a workout facility in your garage.
Yeah, and so then, I mean, that's really all that changed for him. And then for me, I was still full-time, so 3 days a week, 4 days off. And there were just a lot of unknowns in the medical field. Obviously, like, it was just really unknown how it was going to be treated, and the symptoms, you know, kept evolving because the virus kept mutating. And so it was really scary for a while. And, you know, our, like, PPE, the protective equipment that we wear at work, it was just kind of going out of stock really fast. And so for a while I was really worried, but I came into contact with a couple positive patients, got tested after every single one of them. And it wasn't really until, like, the boys returned to, what was it, OTAs? Mm-hmm. That's what they have in April.
Yes.
Yes. That's when I was kind of like, okay, I can't put myself in a situation where I could pass this on to Hunter and then him pass it on to someone else on the team. And so that's when we kind of did some reevaluating, and I went to per diem at work, which has been awesome. I've wanted to go per diem for a while now, and so it was just kind of good timing.
So what is that? Because I don't know.
Okay, so full time is 3 days a week. Per diem is at my hospital 1 day a week.
Okay.
And so that's been really nice. But back in, I think it was, probably when was it? July or August, I took care of a positive patient that I didn't know was positive.
Oh, Isaac told me about that, and you had to get out rapid. Right
when the boys started going back to football and getting tested every day. And so, I mean, it's just one of those situations that sucks. But so Hunter stayed in a hotel that whole week until I tested and was negative. But I mean, it's one of those things where it sucks because it's a pandemic, yes, and you have to be smart and stay safe and healthy, but it's also like you can't live your life. You can't not live your life, you know?
Right.
And so through a lot of talking with Hunter and I, we just had to kind of put down some guidelines of, you know, how we're going to take care of ourselves and with my work and stuff. And, you know, if he has to stay in a hotel, I don't want to give up nursing. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, it's basically just taking care of ourselves the best we can.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I know Isaac and I definitely had the same. Our conversation was probably a little bit more relaxed than your conversation since you're in a hospital and I'm at clients' homes. But Isaac and I had that conversation, like, okay, should I take? Because I'm an independent contractor, so he was like, should you take some less contracts? Should you try and do a lot more from home? And so it was definitely a weird time because obviously you don't want him to get it, number one, and then two, you also don't want him spreading it to the entire team, and next thing you know, the Chargers are calling you up and they're like, hey.
Then you're on the headlines of, you know, the Chargers app.
Isaac's fiancée gives the whole team corona, and I'm like, damn it. But I wonder how many other couples, not even in the NFL, but couples in general, had to have those conversations, because I know, watching the news in the first few months of corona, nurses were sleeping in the garages of their home and turning it into a semi-apartment just to not expose their family.
Yeah.
And
it's awful.
Luckily it's just you two, there's no children involved.
Yeah.
Cooper, he's okay.
Cooper's okay. Luckily dogs don't get it.
Right, but I'm sure it was just a couple of scary months, especially because you're in such close proximity.
Absolutely. But I think the biggest thing was, too, when all this kind of started, we had to realize we were very blessed in the fact that, you know, our guys do have a stable, unstable job, if you know what I mean. When a lot of people did lose their jobs. And so I'm very thankful that I did have nursing and that Hunter does have football, because I can't imagine the people that, you know, did go through losing their jobs and having to figure out the next option.
Mm-hmm. And I think even more so, grateful that you have a husband that wasn't you need to quit because my job is more important than your job. Whereas he kind of took one for the team. He was like, well, I'll just stay at the hotel.
I mean, he's definitely had the thought run through his head a couple of times, this would all just be a lot more simple if you know, push nursing to the side. But no, he supports me 100%. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy because towards the end of the last podcast, I was about to get engaged. I'm
not proposing this time, Allie, I promise.
Oh, dang it! I thought you were, but. I'm really happy that I had you on today's podcast, and I'm really excited to continue having conversations like this to make people more knowledgeable, I guess, from our side of the NFL, because certain shows online might portray us a certain way.
Wags.
And it's nice to know you as Parker Henry, not Hunter's wife, Parker.
Absolutely.
So I'm so happy to have you on, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and
this day couldn't have been more beautiful.
Exactly. I think I might have a suntan.
I think I got a lot of sun on this side of my face.
Yeah, we might have to switch here after. But nice having you. Thanks having you on. Nice having you on, and I'll see you Sunday for game day.
Sounds good. Can't wait.